Claude Fable 5 is back in the conversation, and developers are paying attention for a reason. The timeline matters. Anthropic says the US government applied export controls on June 12 to Claude Fable 5 and Claude Mythos 5 because the order required access restrictions for foreign nationals and there was no reliable real-time nationality verification. Anthropic says it suspended access to both models for all users. Then Anthropic says the export controls were lifted on June 30, and redeployment began July 1 with updated cybersecurity safeguards. So Fable 5 is not just back as a meme. It actually had a messy access story. This is not just brand loyalty. Claude models built a reputation around careful reasoning, strong writing, and collaborative long-context work. For developers, that matters because coding is not only typing code. Anthropic's own Fable page describes it as built for ambitious coding projects, including large migrations, complex implementations, and multi-day autonomous sessions. It also says Fable 5 can write its own tests, implement designs with high fidelity, and use vision to check outputs against goals. A lot of software work happens before the code, understanding requirements, finding edge cases, making architecture decisions, reviewing trade-offs, explaining systems. Planning a feature so the implementation does not become a mess. That is where Fable 5 can still be important even in a GPT-5.6 world. OpenAI may have a strong execution story with GPT-5.6. Sol tool use, terminal workflows, agentic coding, and multi-step work are all extremely valuable. But execution is only half the job. If you execute the wrong plan, you just create a faster mess. That is why planning models matter. A good planning model can take a vague feature request and turn it into a clear implementation strategy. It can identify constraints. It can warn you when the idea is too broad. It can tell you which part should be built first. That is real developer value. Fable 5 also matters because developers do not only work inside IDEs. They write design docs, PR summaries, architecture proposals, incident reports, onboarding docs, and product specs. If a model is better at those tasks, it can still win a huge part of the workflow. So the Fable 5 comeback should not be judged only by coding benchmarks. It should be judged by complete software work. Can it help you decide what to build? Can it reason through trade-offs? Can it explain a complex system to another engineer? Can it keep context across a long discussion? Can it push back when the request is flawed? Those are not small things. The best developers are not just fast coders. They are good decision makers, and a model that improves decision quality may be more valuable than a model that generates code faster. The practical workflow is simple. Use Fable 5 for planning, reasoning, docs, product thinking, and architecture. Use GPT-5.6 Sol for execution-heavy coding and agent tasks. Use cheaper models for simple routine work. That is not a compromise. That is a better system. So yes, Fable 5 is back. And even if GPT-5.6 wins some coding tasks, developers should still care, because software engineering is not just code generation. It is judgment, and judgment is exactly where Claude may still have a serious edge. The easiest way to see this is to separate a software task into two halves. The first half is deciding. The second half is doing. Most AI hype focuses on doing. Generate the code, fix the bug, run the tool, ship the change, but deciding is where expensive mistakes begin. Should this be a new service or a module inside the existing app? Should we add a database table or reuse the current schema? Should we build the complex version now or ship the narrow version first? Should this be automated at all? Those are planning questions. If Fable 5 is strong at slowing down, comparing options, and explaining trade-offs, then it has a clear place in the developer stack. In fact, the best use of Fable 5 may be before the coding agent starts. Give it the product request. Ask for assumptions. Ask for hidden risks. Ask what a senior engineer would worry about. Ask it to define the smallest useful version. Then take that plan into the execution model. This makes the whole workflow safer. You're not letting a model sprint in a random direction. You're using one model to think and another model to act. That mirrors how good teams work. Architects, product thinkers, engineers, reviewers, and operators do different jobs. AI workflows should do the same. So when people say Fable 5 is back, do not only ask whether it beats GPT 5.6 on coding. Ask whether it improves the decisions around coding, because a better decision can save more time than a faster implementation. That is why developers still care about Claude. Not because it is always the fastest, because sometimes the most valuable model is the one that makes you build less, but build the right thing. There is a simple test for this. Before starting your next feature, ask Fable 5 for a pre-mortem. Say, imagine this feature failed after launch. Give me the 5 most likely reasons why. That prompt is powerful. It forces the model to think about risks before code exists. Maybe the data model is wrong. Maybe the user flow is too complex. Maybe the edge cases are bigger than expected. Maybe the feature should be split into 2 releases. Maybe the problem is not technical at all. If a model can reveal those issues early, it saves real engineering time. Then ask GPT 5.6 or your execution model to build the smallest safe version. This sequence is strong. Fable for pre-mortem, Fable for scope reduction, GPT 5.6 for implementation. Test for proof, human review for judgment. That is not model competition, that is model teamwork. And that is why developers still care about Claude even when OpenAI launches something powerful. Different strengths create better workflows. Fable 5 does not need to win every coding benchmark to be valuable. It only needs to make the work smarter before the first line of code is written.